Recently, I've been trying to make Manchester United a Champions League winning team again. I've been rebuilding the club and I've made a lot of changes, and so far, we seem to be going in the right direction. In the last 4 years as manager, I've moved on players like Luke Shaw, got big money for players like Diogo Dalot, and even made big bucks on Mason Mount. But obviously it hasn't just been sales that I've been working on, I've signed some top players too, adding the likes of Carlos Baleba to our ranks, improving the defence of Ousmane Diamonde, and getting huge deals over the line like Kavica Kvaratskhelia. And that team that I've built so far has done pretty well. Now this is a spoiler warning for the first 2 episodes of the series that are on the channel if you want to check them out, but with the aim of winning the Champions League, that feels like the next step in our team's journey after last year. As for the first time in this series, we managed to win the Premier League title, getting 87 points, 3 more than Arsenal, and becoming champions of the country for the first time in a long time. We've added a few little cups here and there as well, but the main aim for us in this whole save has been the Champions League, and so far it hasn't quite gone to plan. Because we've had some really disappointing performances in Europe, but recently things looked on the up as we made it to the semis last year, only to get knocked out by Barcelona, so we are getting closer and hopefully that Champions League will come soon. But even after winning the title and getting so close in the UCL, the board gave us pretty much no budget to work with. We had no transfer budget, no wage budget, and we had to sell players before we could buy anyone, and we did that this summer with the help of one big name. Now this isn't the big name just yet, mind you, but Andre Onana was a player that left the club. We've managed to get his wages off the bill for the season as he goes to play for Wolfsburg out in Germany. He's been out on loan a few times now, and hopefully will find his feet there and eventually get off our books. And it's a similar story for Bryan Mbeumo, who was good early on but hasn't got the appearances that he's wanted in recent times, only played 20 times last season, so we've moved him on loan for the year to Benfica, where they've got an option to buy him should they choose to accept it. But thank God we managed to move off one of the players we were done with in Rasmus Højlund. The big issue here at United has been moving on the deadwood, and I would not say Højlund was one of those necessarily, but he definitely wasn't needed anymore, being our third choice striker. He spent last season out on loan at Newcastle, having scored 8 goals for us in this whole series, not really doing well for Napoli either. Newcastle played him 25 times, only 8 as a starter, and had a mandatory fee of 46 million there, so we are absolutely laughing with that deal. Yes, he's a good player, but with Chido Obi Martin up front, and of course Benjamin Šeško, there was no room for Højlund, and it meant we now actually had some money to bring some players in. Now granted, it wasn't a lot, but I tried to think about boosting the squad as a whole, both for the future and for the right now. With Onana leaving, we needed a new backup goalkeeper, so I signed Marcin Bulka on a free deal. He was good at Nice for a number of years, then moved to Saudi Arabia where he's done very well. He's played for his national team, he's never going to be a world star, but the former Chelsea man and PSG player will be a good backup keeper. The only issue is, he's struggling for a work permit right now, so we're trying to apply for that to get that over the line. But either way, I think in terms of free signings, that's a good bit of business. And with the money we'd earned from the Højlund deal, we couldn't exactly get any star players in to help our team, nor did I feel like our side really needed it, having done so well last year. So instead, I focused on the future and brought in 2 potential wonder kids to our side. The cheapest of the 2 is a young centre-back by the name of Ali Kamara, who's a Ghanaian international 18-year-old who's already played 14 times for his nation, has 20 jumping reach, is 6'7", and is good with both feet. He is built for the Premier League, he just needs to develop a little bit. We have signed him from Nice, where he's not really been playing, but has been a star of their youth sides for 10 million quid, and at 18 years of age, I think we have got a superstar in the making, who's going to be an absolute animal. 20 jumping reach, 6'7", bow-footed, a defensive monster, and someone we can hopefully build around for the future. And then I signed a young Englishman as well that I thought had big potential in Liam Hales. He's a right-footed number 10 who we've picked up from Everton for about 13 million. Now, Man U have signed some good young players from Everton in the past. I'm thinking about Wayne Rooney in particular, and I'm not saying Liam Hales is that level, but at 18, he's got dribbling, finishing, and first touch at a high level, good mental stats, and really good physical attributes for a player so young, and I think he's going to have a big future, and being English as well, that's definitely going to help us. And with him being signed, our transfer business was complete, and we were heading into our 5th season, looking to retain the Prem, win the Champions League, with what I consider to be a very strong lineup. up. As our best 11 now sees Dennis Simon as one of the world's best goalkeepers despite being super young, with a back four of Gertrude, Lewis Hall, Lissandro Martinez and Diamonde. For me, I don't know how Martinez keeps getting in this team because it has to be Matthias de Ligt in my opinion. The game clearly fancies Martinez, but I prefer de Ligt, but the midfield I cannot complain with. Belieber and Stiller, with Kvaratskhelia, Šeško, Fernandez and Brian Mbeumo supposedly, but we know in this save Ahmad has been the star of the show on that right wing. The one issue our team is starting to have though is a few of our key players getting older, in particular Bruno Fernandes, now being 34, his contract is up at the end of this year and on 300 grand a week, it's probably about time we think about moving on from him and not extending that deal. And whilst I think our squad is looking pretty good in the here and now, the game doesn't necessarily agree with our level, because despite winning the league last season, we're still only predicted 4th place, joint 4th with Arsenal and Tottenham with a 9-1 odd of winning the trophy, with Newcastle, Liverpool and Man City all considered better than us. There's 2 really big rivals there that the game thinks can beat us, but I'm not so sure. I feel like our team is looking pretty good, so we're going to forward ahead till January, see how they're doing and hope that by then we might have some more budget to work with. I still don't know why we didn't get any money. Some people saying it is a glitch in the new Football Manager, so I'm hoping come the next transfer window we'll have something to work with and we can start to think about replacing some of those older heads. And looking to retain the Premier League title in January, I think it's safe to say the season's going okay so far. We've had some great results already, like beating Aston Villa 3-2 in a very tight clash. We managed to beat City 2-1, even though we were down to 10 men for most of the game. But there have been a few iffy results, like against Newcastle, where we should have absolutely destroyed them based on the stats and only just scraped a 3-3 draw. And it's left us in a position where come January time, we are sitting in 3rd place in the league, 39 points on the table. Tottenham are currently top with 47, but we do have one game in hand there, so maybe we can work that up to 42 and then we're not too far away. We just need to start putting a little bit of form together and maybe thinking about the future transfer wise in what's going to help us be a regular team in this title challenge, because I mentioned I wanted a budget and we've got it. £162 million of transfer budget has been given to us in January, and I've spent it on a few players. Now, I will say outright, they're not joining us just yet. If you go to the transfer history tab here, you'll see none of these guys are actually playing for us right now. It's just the players that I've showed you that we've already picked up, and one that our director of football signed for our academy. The 2 players that I have signed that I think have a big future for us are going to be joining us down the line. But there was one big sale that I should talk about, and that is Lenny Yoro, who has moved to Brighton for a fee of only around 14 million. The reason this has happened is his contract was expiring at the end of this year, so to get any money for him as opposed to losing him on a free, I felt made sense for a player that unfortunately hasn't developed the way we want him to. Since the start of this save, the most appearances he's got in a single season is 11. He's never been a regular starter. He's missed his years of development, and whilst I think he will be a top player in real life, in game, he's been way behind the pecking order. Aidan Heaven has been playing more than him, so Lenny Yoro is out, but there's 2 players coming in for the future that I could save for later, but I will spoil it for you now. We have got this player coming in called Saeed El Mala, who I haven't heard of, but he's currently 23 in this save, so he must be a teenager in real life right now. We picked him up from FC Köln, where he's been for a few years in Germany, doing very well in the Bundesliga, being one of the best players over there, and we've offered him a mega deal to come in as a new left wing option. And we're also going to be signing Oosterglauk at the end of his contract at Ajax. He's 25 years of age, and he is someone that has been doing very well in the Eredivisie and was valued really highly, but over the years with his contract running out, we've kept an eye on him, and now we're bringing him in for totally free on quite a bit of money, but it is less than what Bruno was getting, and he will be taking Bruno's place in the team as the starting number 10. So we have made some transfer business to try and improve next year, but this year of course the aim is the Champions League, which we're doing pretty well in so far. The Prem we're in a conversation for, we're still in the other cup competitions too, so it's all to play for right now. The Carabao Cup we're getting to the later stages, and I'm hoping come the end of the year we can have a few more trophies and maybe even a Champions League, but I am crossing my fingers we can try and make that gap up between us and Spurs and get to the top of the table. Hopefully they'll be a bit Spursy about it and let us get back in. And I tell you what, being a Manchester United manager is never easy. Last year we won the title by 3 points, and this season, whilst being in third in January, we were hoping we could be in that conversation again. But this season had some drama. We'll start off though with a cup final in the Carabao Cup, which I don't believe we've won yet. The match saw us line up against a fairly unlikely finalist in Leicester City, and whilst I thought this could be a tricky game with us expected to win the match very comfortably, there's always that pressure. We really shone. We ended up winning 5-0 with Sesko getting a hat-trick, and it meant that we had lifted one trophy this year in the Carabao Cup. But of course, the aim of this save is to win the Champions League. And we made it to the quarter-final, where we faced off against Bayern Munich, and in leg one, it was a massive affair with a 4-4 draw at Old Trafford, 2 really late goals from Bayern Munich, including one from Garnacho, putting the nail in the coffin for us. And that, of course, now meant we were heading to the Allianz Arena with a draw currently, needing to win to make the Champions League semi again. And whilst this rebuild won't stop until we win the Champions League, we might be here for a bit longer because Bayern really destroyed us. They dominated the whole match, went 1-0 up through Roque, and in the second half they didn't let up. The pressure continued, they had most of the ball for all the game, most of the chances, and it led to them eventually getting a second as Baidu went down the right hand side, too easily past our defence I think, and Vitor Roque tucked him from close to knock us out of the Champions League in the quarter-final stage, meaning there'll at least be another season now as we try and win that competition. My only hope was that in the Prem we could manage to win the title, and there was a chance because Spurs had fell off, and come the last game of the season, if we won, we could do it. But unfortunately, we drew 0-0 to Brentford. Despite 2.29 XG, 9 corners and 26 shots, we couldn't get the win, but neither did Man City, who in the 92nd minute conceded to their own former player Tommy Doyle, and it meant that we scraped over the line with that 1 point. It actually did their business. Liverpool were in third, and Tottenham went all the way down to 4th place with 74 points, but we have scraped to it this year. Only 5 losses, but 10 draws, way more than anyone else in that title conversation, which we need to try and iron out. And I'm hoping the new players coming in can really make a difference there, although saying that, some of the players in the first team that you might not have expected at the start of this save to be doing so well have been so good for us. In fact, if we have a look by average rating, Benjamin Šeško, I thought he'd be good, but not scoring 43 in 45. That is insane numbers, Haaland levels, whilst Amad Diallo, of all people, is outperforming Kvaratskhelia, who's also done very well, but Ciro Obi Martin, Gertruida, all of those players chipping in, but a big loss will be Bruno Fernandes. 19 goals, 12 assists in 44 appearances, but at the age of 35, it's time that we move on, I think. You can see the decline that's happening now in his physical attributes. He still wants a big wage as well if we do try and offer him a deal. So we're going to have to move on there, but we have got budget to work with. £189 million of transfer budget, a huge amount of wage budget as well to get in a few star players. Whether we want to rock the boat or not that much is another question, but to win the Champions League, we clearly need a bit more. Bayern, Barcelona, those big teams are managing to knock us out. The Premier League as well, we're not winning enough games despite winning the title, so I think we're going to need some star quality to be added, and I think that budget is going to help big time. And I said that big budget was going to help out, and we have signed superstar players to help our team. But before I show you, I am just going to ask, if you are enjoying the video, please smash the like button and subscribe as well if you've enjoyed this series so far. I really would appreciate it. Hopefully you are enjoying the FM26 content, plenty more on the way, so let me know down below what team you want to see rebuilt, and if you want to get access to these Man United save files and plenty more benefits like giveaways and early access to the videos, then the Patreon, linked in the description, is the best way to do so while supporting me as a creator. So big thank you to the guys over there already, but let's get back to our transfers, or I think you're going to like who we've signed. Because whilst we have spent over 200 million, we have sold a bunch of players too. The first one being Alessandro Martinez, who has moved on to Sunderland for 35 mil, which I think is a pretty good deal for an ageing player, again getting towards the end of his contract. Patrick Dorgu also was going to leave us on a free at the end of this deal, so we've moved him on to Porto for a pretty good fee as well for the 25-year-old who's never really appeared that much for us. 21 million is not bad and makes most of his money back. Cunha was upset with his game time, so he's moved to Al Shabab at age 31 for a fee of 16 million. A good player, but he wasn't going to be necessary anymore with the new coming players that I've bought. Ugarte finally moves on and gets his huge wages off the books as he's moved to Lille for 7.25 million. He was loaned there a while back and they never signed him permanently, but as you can tell based on appearances, I've never fancied him. We've had way better players since Baliba came in, so it was time for him to go. And we completed the clear out of the high earning players who I no longer wanted, with Bruno leaving and all the others. Andre Onana has also joined him. Age 34, he has gone to sign for Hoffenheim for 6 million quid. We finally no longer have to deal with Onana, get the wages off the books, and it freed up a bunch of money and we signed some stars. Firstly, Said El-Mala has of course joined us and has came in as one of our best players. And Oscar Glauc, who we mentioned in January too, has signed as an elite level talent. I then spent 20 million on another defender, replacing Martinez. This is a player that can be good for the future, like the one we signed last year, but also good right now. It is French 20-year-old Glore Avenue, who is a player that we have signed from FC Nantes out in France for just under 20 million quid, and for that price we get a 5-star potential player, an either-footed defender who's great physically and really strong in the defensive attributes with 17 heading and 16 positioning. He is going to be a huge player, and for anyone that continues to save on Patreon, I expect him to be world class. But I signed 2 players for over 100 million. The first one is Desiree Doué. I'm hoping his star power on the right, he'll be even better than Ahmad. He can also play through the middle as well, and we get an absolute superstar from PSG for 100 million quid. It's a lot of money, but for the talent we're getting at 25 to replace Bruno's output, I think it's a good deal still. But my final signing is one of the best wonder kids in this year's FM, Ayoub Bouadi, who is still only 22, now 6 years into this save. Starts off as a youngster at Lille, where he has been exceptional since young, and now we've paid £104 million to sign him. A France international on a regular basis, a 5-star player, the best player at the whole club, and he walks right into our best 11, which is a team now that looks super strong. We are seeing Dennis Simon in goal, with Delit and Diamonde at the back, and Haaland Coyote as the energy boxes beside both of them. Bouadi and Baliba in the DM roles, with Ahmad, Glauc, Kvaratskhelia and Sheshko. We know this could now easily be Desiree Doué as well. Angelo Stiller's still here of course, Chido Martin, and a bunch of young players ready to make their mark on the team. And you can tell the players we've bought, the game definitely thinks are an improvement, because if we go to the Premier League and the season preview, we are now predicted odds-on title favourites with Man City. Remember last season, linked at the same level as Spurs and Arsenal, but not anymore. We are expected to be in the title race, and I'm really hoping this year we can prove that to be true. The Champions League is the ultimate aim. I feel with the players we've added, we've got a much better chance, but if we get to January, then we can see how these players are doing and see if this might really happen for us. And I was really hoping adding that little bit of star power to our team would turn those draws to wins, those losses to draws, and help us be a better side overall. And I think I was right to spend 200 million. We've managed to get great results like beating Chelsea 4-0, where Bouadi and Doué were helping to get us those goals. It wasn't the Premier League, but in the Carabao Cup we managed to put 6 past Tottenham. And even Napoli in the Champions League lost 4-0 to us in the league phase, showing the kind of star power we now had. And I suppose it's half expected when you see the recruitment that we have managed to pull off, because if you look at some of our top players, in that top 6 or 7 bracket, you have got Desiree Doué, Bouadi, Glauc and El-Mala, who have all joined us this season, showing those guys that we've got have raised the bar massively in our team. And I only focused on a few results there, but if you look in general at our form, we've won the Community Shield. Yes, we lost a game to Chelsea, drew to City, but overall, the amount of wins we're getting is stupid, particularly the last few months as those players have started to gel, and you can see a lot of their names on the score sheet. Glauc's there, Ahmad scoring 3 in that goal, we've got El-Mala popping up, Chido Martin is still contributing, Bouadi as well, and we're at a point in January now where we're sitting first in the Premier League, we're still in all the cup competitions as well, we're doing well in the league phase for the first time in the UCL, and it looks like in the Prem, I mean we've got 2 games in hand and we're already 2 points clear. It looks like we should be able to get closer and closer to that title and maybe go on and win it way more comfortably than we have in previous times. So everything feels like it's on the up, but that doesn't mean that I've stopped with the transfers, because I don't know how long we're going to be here or how long it will take to win the UCL, so I've added a few extra players to bolster our ranks. But I should start off by noting I have moved a couple players on, with Marcin Bulka leaving for Saudi Arabia again. This time he leaves us for a fee of 10 million. Never got that work permit, so actually it's not a bad deal. And Brian Ubuemo, who had fell well behind in the pecking order with those new signings and Ahmad's amazing performances, has moved to go and play for Al Tawoun in Saudi for an extra £20 million or so to add to our budgets. It meant I had the money to sign a new backup goalkeeper, and I bought an English one as well, so we don't have to worry about work permit rules. As Sam Tickle comes in to help our registration, he joins for the same fee we got from Bulka. He's been playing with Wigan in League One, which seems like a really low level to buy a keeper from, but he is actually of decent squad level. Clearly he was one of Wigan's best, and I think we'll be very happy to have him as a backup to Simon. And then planning ahead, with Dorgu out, I felt we needed a new left back, so to compete with Lewis Hall, we have signed Remo Meulemans, who's a Belgian 21-year-old international, considered one of the best in the world in his position at only 20, who we have signed from PEC Seville, who have still not lost him somehow. He's been playing in the second tier for them, now the Eredivisie, doing really well this season, wasn't renewing his deal, so we have managed to sign him on a pre-contract agreement for next year for a guy that will be the best left back in the world. I'm sure of it with how good he is. But the squad so far is doing really well, and those additions will only make them better in the future. But I don't want to think about the future right now. My aim is solely on the Champions League. It's our time to win it. It seems like the Premier League will be happening this year, but the UCL has to be our goal, and I'm hoping this year will finally be the one. And I said I was aiming for the Champions League this season. Last year, we made it to the quarter-final, and this year, we were there again. Our first task was Atletico Madrid away from home, where Desiree Doué scored the only goal of the game to make it 1-0 in the tie. But at home, we showed our strength, dominating the match, winning 3-0, a 4-0 overall victory, with 3 of the goals being scored by the new signings that we've brought in, showing the work we've done and making it now to a Champions League semi, where our opposition was AC Milan. And despite it being a Champions League semi-final against one of the world's best clubs, at Old Trafford they stood no chance. A 3-0 victory, a dominant performance, and that continued in the second leg, where Desiree Doué starred once more with a goal and an assist to help us beat them 2-1, and it set up our first ever Champions League final. We were aiming to get over the line. The only issue was we were facing off against Real Madrid, but before we got there, we had the Premier League to worry about. And I say worry about, but it was never in doubt at all, as our team was absolutely flying. 6 points clear in the end of Manchester City, who were expected to be joint favourites. We drew 9 games, so we're still drawing too many, but we only lost 3, way less than anyone else in this whole division. We scored more goals than any other team, and we conceded some of the least in the league, so we got exactly what we expected out of that. In fact, I think we might be the best attacking team and the best defensive team, so you can see why we have won the title this year. 62 goal difference, we were absolutely elite this season, and that has meant we have won the Prem, and now all eyes fell on the 31st of May as we face off against Real Madrid in the Champions League final. And we won it, winning the game 1-1 in a penalty shootout. Bellingham scoring the first, Oscar Glauc, our signing, scoring the goal to equalise, and then in the penalties, it ended up being a miss from Reece James that meant Real Madrid came crashing out. Now, I would have loved to have shown you this game, and actually plenty of others in this whole series, but currently FM26 is still in beta, and the majority of games when I try and show you crash, I have to restart my whole computer, and for some reason this is one of the games that, despite me trying 10 or 11 times, it will not let me show you the highlights, so I do apologise for that. Don't blame me, this game is a buggy mess right now, and I'm hoping come full release a lot of these issues will be fixed, because it does make making these videos very hard. So yeah, I am very sorry that we couldn't show the game itself, but it is what it is. Manchester United are Champions League winners at the end of the day, and we have done it by pretty much, I mean, I don't want to say this is the way to do it in real life, we basically changed their whole squad. If you look at their top players, were any of them with us at the start? Seshko, yes. You have to go all the way down to Ahmad, who has had a real turn in this save. I don't see that happening in real life to become a world-class right-winger. De Ligt's still here doing well, but the majority of these guys we've brought in ourselves. We had to do the work, move a lot of these people on. In fact, one of our best players is a current Man U player that has done the business for us, was Rashford, who over the years has been very influential since coming back from Barca. Not really the last couple of seasons, but those first ones when he got back from Barca, he was super influential in getting us back to being a title-winning team. So there you are, Ruben Amorim. All you need to do is sell the whole squad. We have had a brilliant year when it comes to our players' performances, though. And what's great to see is it is those guys that we've brought in recently. Glauc and Elmala getting nearly 50 goals just between the two of those. Desiree Doué has standed out a lot in the creative aspects as well with 15 assists. And whilst he hasn't been super standout in that DM role, Boualdi and Baliba have both had good, solid seasons as well. So I think we've done a great job here. And that is our Manchester United rebuild complete. A bit underwhelming with the fact I couldn't show the game. Hopefully you'll forgive it. It was a great rebuild, a 3-part series that I will put together as a full movie for anyone wanting to watch. But our next video, keep an eye out for that. We've got some big plans when the real game comes out.